wait's finally over, and it is your favorite time of the month, and it is the Alaska Real Estate Eagle River Market Update, where we're going to be looking at the single-family condos and the multifamily markets here in Eagle River, Alaska. This is a smaller but mighty market here in the Anchorage, South Central Alaska area. So we're going to be taking a pretty close look at this and kind of give you an idea for what's going on in this market. At the very end, I'll give you a summary for what the takeaways are if you are a buyer, seller, or investor as well. We do get those here in Eagle River as well. Before we get started though, do make sure you give this video a like, subscribe, and do all that good stuff that's going to help the algorithm. We'll consider that the toll for you to watch the rest of the movie. Okay, let's get into it. Now, first off, I want to take a look at what's going on in the single family market. And the first thing I want to look at in the single family market is what's going on with the inventory, because there's a lot that happens with the inventory. And this is the, when they talk about supply and demand, this is the supply side. So let's talk about the supply. So this time last year, there were 62 properties available in Eagle River, and now there are 60. So we're actually seeing a decreasing availability for single-family properties in Eagle River, which is not where you want to go if you are trying to purchase something in Eagle River. Looking historically, though, because I said it's gone down by 2, but I'd argue it's actually worse than it sounds, because this time of year prior to COVID, we'd expect to see anywhere from about 150 to about 200 properties available on the market. So the fact that we're sitting at 60, that's not a whole lot. There's just not a whole lot available right at the moment, and the reason for that is everybody bought or refinanced a couple of years ago, and now they're just holding on with a death grip to what they have because their property they own here now has really low interest rates. So whereas they might have been willing to sell before, now they're not willing to let go of it because it's got that low interest rate, and they're like, we'll just rent it out. So that's kind of the running theory that we have. And honestly, I think it's pretty dead on. Now, with the inventory being as low as it is, you would think, okay, well, that means surely the number of properties that are actually selling has decreased proportionally as well. Well, I hate to tell you this, my friend, but you would actually be wrong, because we see that this time last year, there were 42 properties that sold in Eagle River, and this year, 48. Now, historically, we would expect to see anywhere from about 50 up to about 70 properties actually selling. So the fact we're at 48, it's kind of within line of what we would see, even though the inventory was significantly higher a couple of years ago than what it is now. So that does signify a lot of demand for single family properties in Eagle River. All right, now looking at the average sold price, we see that this time last year, the average sold price hit a record where for the first time for the month of June, we were actually sitting at about 500,000, which, yay, depending on who you are, that's either great or that's terrible. And also, we see that this year we're sitting at about 524,000, which means we've increased this year by about 4.7% for the average sold price, which, again, depending on who you are, that's either great news or that's terrible news. I can say that this actually does make a whole lot of sense. Like if you are actually out there in these streets trying to get something under contract, you know that as soon as a property comes onto the market, it is like the church scene from Kingsman where everyone's just fighting like crazy. And if the property is actually in good condition, solid area, and they've taken decent care of it, even more so. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just a scene from Armageddon or something. Like it can get pretty intense. So that's what we're seeing right now. Average sold price is going up. So if you're a homeowner, great news. If you're a home buyer, it's probably a little discouraging, but also keep in mind, if you're wanting to purchase here, it's better to buy something where you're more confident its value is going to continue going up than is to buy something just because it's cheap. And the reason for that is I'm more confident that value is going to increase over time than if it's cheap just because nobody wants it. So, I know it's probably not the news that you want to hear, but that's what we're seeing right now. Well, I mean, if you're a seller, that's great news. I can't imagine you're complaining about that. But yeah, as a buyer, maybe not the best. All right, let's talk condos. Condos are great. Condos are small. Condos are a more affordable housing option for a lot of people. And unfortunately, there aren't a whole lot of condos available these days in Eagle River. So this time last year, there were 7 condos available. This year, there are 10. Normally, we'd see anywhere from about 20, I think it's 27, up to about 36 condos available on the market. So the fact that we're sitting at 10 historically still pretty low, and I'm really not expecting that to change anytime soon. We've got a couple of developments of new condos happening, but all in all, there's just not a whole lot of new inventory being created as far as condos go. All right, now we see the number of condos that have actually sold went from about 8 this time last year to 5 this year, so a bit of a decrease. And historically, we see anywhere from about 4 up to about 7. So, I mean, it looks like it is a decrease from the year before, but historically, that's about in line with what we would expect. All right, now for the average sold price. Like I said before, condos are more affordable in Eagle River than they single-family properties are. And also, the average sold price is in fact increasing. So it went from about $319,000 this time last year for the average sold price year to date to about $345,000 this year, which means we're sitting at about approximately 8-9% increase for the average sold price. So that is a pretty aggressive appreciation, and the reason for that is a lot of people want to live in Eagle River. And with that being the case, more and more people are trying to find these more affordable options because, it's pretty fierce competition looking at these single-family homes that are in Eagle River. And so more people are looking at the condos, which, increases the average sold price, which kind of starts defeating the purpose of the affordability. But don't get me wrong, still a heck of a lot more affordable than what you're going to find with most single-family properties. But just know that you're probably not the only one who's heard this real estate hack that we're just going to find a condo and it's going to be cheaper. And if that's the case, then, don't think you're going to get a competition-free ride with finding condos either, if you're looking at Eagle River. Okay, let's go and take a break real quick here. For those of you who've been watching for a little bit, you do know that I host a podcast called the Alaska Journey Podcast. I interview people who've lived up here for a while about what it's like living up here. We've got the video version on this channel, and we've also got it on the podcast app, Apple Podcast, Spotify, like anywhere you're going to be listening to podcasts. We've got it there as well. Link for that is in the description section down below. And also, got a relocation guide. If you're interested in relocating to Alaska and you're looking for a guide, let me know. I got a guide. Okay, let's move on. All right, we're going to talk about multifamily in Eagle River, and not a whole lot to talk about here, honestly. And the reason for that is because as an investor, once you acquire some multifamily property in Eagle River, typically they don't want to let it go because Eagle River usually attracts really good tenants. The cap rate is lower, so your ROI is usually going to be a little bit lower than what you're going to find in other parts of Anchorage, but it's usually set and play kind of real estate investing, okay? Because everything, you usually not going to be dealing with a whole lot of like ridiculous, stupid headaches like breaking tenants up and having like some fight. Like you're really not going to be dealing with stuff like that for the most part in Eagle River. And so it's a pretty high demand area, and we're seeing that in the numbers here because this time last year there were 3 multifamily properties available in Eagle River, and this year there are 3 available. So not a whole lot has changed there. Historically, we'd see anywhere from about 8 to about 13 properties available on the market. So you see that's gone down quite a bit. Next, we see the number of multifamily properties that have actually sold went from 1 this time last year to 1 this year. So not a whole lot has really changed there either. I'm also curious when people say, 1 unit, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm curious if these are real, true investment multifamily properties like a duplex, fourplex, all that, or if it's just, a single family home that has the potential to be a mother-in-law. And so they just list it as, a duplex. Like, I really don't know. There's a good chance that we're seeing some of that tomfoolery happening here. We don't really see a whole lot of real bona fide multifamily properties in Eagle River very often, so it wouldn't surprise me if you're going to see more of that. All right, now, according to the year to date, we're actually seeing about a 52% drop in the average sold price for multifamily properties here in Eagle River. And, pump the brakes a little bit, stop the presses. Really, I think the reason for this is because there was probably some really large commercial property that sold last year. They just threw off all the numbers. because the average sold price this time last year was right at about $1 million. And like I said, multi-family properties in Eagle River do pretty well. I don't think they do quite that well. So yeah, on average. This year we're sitting right at about 477,000, which, that kind of sounds more like that's just, that house that could be jerry-rigged into being some kind of a duplex deal where you can take a mother-in-law unit down below and just block off the stairs, and you can torture a property to make it into something like that. And I don't know if I'd actually consider that a multifamily property. So I don't know how seriously I really take the average sold price for multifamily properties in Eagle River, but there you go. Okay. For the summary, like I said, big thing for you if you are a buyer. If I'm looking at this market, well, let's do this. I know a couple things. Number one, I know it's going to be competitive. Number two, I know we're probably going to have to be persistent. We're probably going to have to be patient in order to make this happen. And number three, it's probably going to be worth it because I don't see the demand for properties in Eagle River going away anytime soon. This is a really close little community that's really close to Anchorage. The commute's really simple for most people. Some people actually complain about 20 to 30 minutes for a commute. It's like, dude, you need to go live in an actual big city. But really not a long commute at all. And the community really does have kind of a Mayberry feel to it. So I think it's going to be worth it in the long run. You just have to set yourself up for it. And believe me, it's much better to be buying an asset that you know is going to be going up, even though it's a little bit more expensive, than it is to just go find something because it's cheap and you get it, and within like a year or so you hate it because, it's cheap. Now, if I'm a seller, I'm looking at this and I know, okay, well, this isn't the market we had back in 2020, 2021. But it's still a pretty strong seller's market, at least for the moment. That's not to say that this is a reality-free zone and I can just do and say whatever. I still see properties not actually selling because, the sellers are obviously not in the same universe on their price on what everyone else thinks it's worth, and buyers aren't going to bail them out like they might have back in 2021. So if you're a seller, got to make sure we priced it right, got to make sure we market it right. And if you're an investor, the big thing to know is just make sure your numbers actually balance out. Make sure you keep enough of the profits socked away in an emergency fund, so if and when things break down, you can actually take care of it and your tenants are well taken care of, and you're not earning the title of slumlord. Okay, this has been my market update. Thanks for watching to the end here. If you have, feel free to reach out to me and let's talk real estate and see how best I can help you. Thank you. See you next time.